Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. I thought today I would do a review of The Handmaid's Tale episode 10 of season 2. Now ever since The Handmaid's Tale debuted in 2017, the show has featured a number of painfully resonant scenes which in their depiction of a fictional totalitarian regime founded on misogyny mirrors the new reality of life in Trump's America. But this week's episode, The Last Ceremony, culminates in the show's most painful, most horrific, most vile episode to date, as June is initially briefly reunited with her daughter, who was ripped from her arms in the pilot episode. There is no way to watch this agonizing sequence and think of the shameful revelations that have dominated in recent news. Thousands of children have been systematically separated from their parents after crossing the United States southern border. But this week's episode, more than ever, it feels important to keep in mind Margaret Atwood's rule. There is nothing in The Handmaid's Tale that has not already happened somewhere in the world. And this quote from her in 2005, and I'll quote this from Margaret Atwood: "Nothing makes me more nervous than people who say it can't happen here. Anything can happen anywhere given the right circumstances." And here are the points to discuss from the last ceremony. Number one, June's early labour turns out to be a false alarm. The whiplash turn here is dizzying 1 minute. June is in labour and Serena is ecstatic, sinking to her knees to give thanks for the sacred blessing. June's birthing ceremony begins and Serena is surrounded by fellow wives who all blanket her with love and tell her how much she deserves this child. Labour was a false start, and the simmering tensions in the Waterford household finally blow over. Furious as Serena is and that June doesn't give birth, insists that June needs to be induced, but the doctor and Aunt Lydia both say it's too early. A few episodes ago I mentioned my surprise that June still seems able to manipulate Waterford so easily with flattery, even after her escape. She seems to have wised up, and when June comes to him asking to be reassigned closer to her daughter in the same district, she begs Waterford, to which he snaps, and he says, "Who are you to tell me what's within my power?" So it's interesting to me that he got defensive about this. We know his superiors aren't thrilled with him, and post-Canada his power might be more limited than ever. Waterford tells June he's been too lenient with her, at which point she spits out to him saying that he doesn't know what it's like to have a child and never will. This burn doesn't really land for me because it's never been particularly clear that Fred cares about having a child in the same way as Serena does. But June talking back to him still provokes something along with the false labour. It leaves the Waterfords both wanting to reassert control over the handmaid. Number two, June is violently raped in a bid to help the baby come out naturally. Now this is the most horrific, this is the most vile scene in the actual episode, and there's a lot of non-consensual sex in The Handmaid's Tale, obviously, but because of the stilted performatic nature of the ceremony and the way the handmaids are forced to behave, June reminds us during the opening voiceover, detaching in a survival mechanism. You still yourself, you pretend not to be present, not in the flesh, you leave your body, it's an out-of-body experience. But none of that is possible in the viscerally upsetting scene. It's an ugly scene in which she is so violently held down by the Waterfords. And it really is the Waterfords doing this, not just Fred. The most horrifying aspect of this utterly, and I can't emphasize it being so horrible, this horrifying scene is Serena's active role, especially after she and June had developed a somewhat genuine relationship this season. It's Serena on whom June focuses all her attention throughout the scene, repeatedly saying, Serena, no, Serena, please, begging for help. Serena's ruthless response is to hold June down even harder. Clenching her is a betrayal beyond comprehension. It's evil, and it's a final proof that Serena never saw June as a person, only as a vessel. Emily is somewhat of an outcast returning from the colonies, has already made the others wary of her, and that was before word spread out that the new commander died directly after her ceremony. A macabre moment that has all the handmaids gossiping during the grocery shopping. When I watched this scene, the episode's opener, play out with Emily going through the ceremony right before the commander collapses, June approaches Emily and tries to give her hope with the news of Moira's escape. You're going to see your son again, June tells her, but Emily bitterly responds, I'm not his mother anymore. She doesn't believe that her son will still feel any bond with her after being so long apart, which naturally disturbs June. Midway through the episode, Eden takes out the trash and also makes out with some trash, being the guards, specifically the Waterford's new guardian, Isaac, who has been eyeing her creepily for days. Nick witnesses the moment, but when Eden frantically apologises, he's basically like, it's cool, no worries, I don't care. This only compounds Eden's sense that Nick doesn't care about her and possibly has an inkling that he's in love with June. It turns out Eden was never even kissed until that night with Isaac. I would never get involved with a handmaid, he said. It would be suicide. Nick says in a maybe prophetic line, considering what happens later in the episode. Because Waterford isn't quite done playing mind games with June yet, he rewards her after raping her by letting her visit Hannah, her daughter, behind Serena's back. And so here it is, the show's most extraordinarily inadvertent ripped from the headlines moment, yet as June reunites with her child for a painfully brief moment and tries to comfort her despite not knowing if they will ever see each other again. Elizabeth Moss is a powerhouse. She's brilliant, and watching her face during this whole episode, this sequence, is so gut-wrenching, it almost brought me to tears. How she copes, and she copes admirably well with the brutal situation, putting her own feelings aside to focus completely on Hannah, her daughter, who is initially scared and then angry and asks June why she didn't try harder to find her. And this is where the tears happened for me. Then she's devastated when the guard abruptly says that they have to leave. Jordana Blake's sad delivery of mummy in this moment is almost too much to take, especially in light of the real audio of real children being torn away from their real parents emerging over the weekend in the United States. And this is where June says to her daughter, I need you to do something for me, enjoy life. She's trying to smile really hard to sort of placate the child. She's trying to be reassuring. She doesn't want to leave Hannah feeling even more scared than before. But when Hannah asks if they'll ever see each other again, June can't give her an answer. And Hannah tries to cling to her because she feels that this may be the last time. June holds it together for Hannah's sake, but as soon as she's out of sight, she collapses crying hysterically in Nick's arms, and this whole scene is just too much. And then there's more trauma to come, because Nick bundles June back into the house and tells her to hide right before he's interrupted and whisked away in a black van by guardians. Only Waterford and Nick know where June is, which means she's pretty much alone in this mysterious house in a strange district, and unlike the last time she escaped, it's the middle of winter and snow is thick on the ground. One element that makes June's situation even more alarming is the doctor mentioned that they may need to induce the labour to avoid a C-section, since the baby is almost 9 pounds and June is petite. This seems unlikely to go well if she's out in the wilderness alone. So that's where we leave off. We're hoping that next episode is even more enthralling, more exciting. I'd like it to be less horrifying, but that's the nature of this series. So on that point, I'll say goodbye now. I hope you enjoyed this little discussion, this little expose on episode 10 of The Handmaid's Tale. So if you enjoyed listening to what I had to say, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, give it a thumbs up, and I shall see you again shortly. Bye for now.